this round in particular, what does this do for the Indigenous community? We see how much it means for a lot of the players, but what do you think the NRL putting on this round does for the entire Indigenous community that we have?
Well, I was saying it all week. Our game's such diverse, and we celebrate cultures like so much, especially with Indigenous round. We celebrate, All Stars concept at the start of the year. I think, it brings awareness around, and it also brings up that conversation once again about, education, educating our Indigenous culture, because we do it so well with the Maori side of it, and I think it's just great that we do celebrate it. In terms of the game, actually, if they can do more, I think they're doing enough. It's just around that education piece of it, clubs or the NRL itself.
What do you mean by the education? Is that making the rest of the community that is in the NRL more aware of? Because the thing is that it's a negative thing that we do see some racism still in our game. Of course, we had the Latrell Mitchell incident recently, Jack White, and he was getting targeted on social media. So it seems like there still is, even though we are doing so much, it seems like there still is that little bit more to do.
Yeah, well, it definitely is. It's going back and pushing that, starting from their grassroots and bringing it up. Our players, we get behind this round, but like I said, we get behind the game itself, and it just goes back to the educational piece. And you said it before, Joey, about previous. That's the best thing you've done is gone back and asked for education around it. So I think it's important, and it's a shame that once we do this here, well then we focus on the negative side of it, but. For our game to move forward and, just to minimise or stop it, the racial slurs about it, well then it's the education piece behind it.
I think it's generational change, that. And I think the game is... We're using the game as a vehicle to help educate and change the generational thought process. Look, there's a couple of things. I think, firstly, the scarring of our nation. There's obviously some scars there that need to be healed moving forward, and I think we're heading in the right direction in that regard. The other great thing that our Indigenous leaders, I'm talking about some players, ex-players, are doing is they're going out and into the community and making a difference. Greg's obviously got the Goanna Academy. Jonathan's got an academy. Joey, you just spoke about Owen Krager. I actually caught up with Nathan Blacklock after the Dragons game on Friday night, and we sat down and we had a chat, and he's doing a lot of things in the community with young people in and around Tamworth. So there's some great Indigenous leaders in our game, and not just for our game, for our country. And this is just not an education for Indigenous people. This is an education for everyone. Like, I'm Australian, I'm a non-Indigenous Australian, but this is my country, and I'm proud of the culture and the heritage of my country, which is the Aboriginal culture. So I think it's important for everyone to learn it.
And I think it's so fantastic as well that we work in an industry where we are able to see this firsthand. A lot of people who might not necessarily be exposed to it don't have that education. So it is a fantastic thing that the NRL is doing, having all these celebrations and really celebrating that entire community.
Yeah, I agree with, absolutely. I think more so than ever, though, we've got a couple of players at the moment who are really putting up their hand. It takes those sort of people to take on a huge responsibility. It's a big burden, it's a lot of energy, and you know what? They believe it. They're not only supporting it, but they're driving it. What Latrell and Cody and Nico and a few of those blokes are doing at the moment, and I don't want to leave anyone out, but they are really driving change. They are forcing it, and it's something like Billy said that, we needed to be forced on us, because we don't know a lot about our history, and we should know more. It's such a great history. So the more that's forced on us and the more we're nearly demanded sometimes to learn, I think the better we would all be. So, but the boys who are taking up the charge at the moment, they are doing an incredible job.
Even Jack Whiten spoke this week about what Latrell does, because you have to remember Latrell's still quite young, but the role that he's taken on, I mean, you would have seen it firsthand as well. What have you made of the role that he's taken on in representing the Indigenous culture and what he really stands for?
Yeah, I think it just comes back to his upbringing and his father obviously putting values and his morals in in the place at an early age. You know, he's, what, 25? And so he's still very young, and he's, you know, stepping up and having the voice around issues around the game and issues that he's faced. You know, I think him and Cody came out a few weeks ago and spoke about online trolling. Probably not really necessarily aimed out at them, you know, obviously some of it, but, you know, within the game itself, and bringing attention and awareness around social media and the impact it can do and the damage it can do. He's, you know, it's a big role to take, and I don't think he understands the impact that he has, you know, obviously the ripple effect around it. So, you know, he's doing a great job, but, you know, there's always going to be controversy around Latrell and what he says and what he puts out there. So, look, just keep doing what you're doing, and, yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll look back on it in years to come and say Latrell was outstanding in what he did and what he did at such a young age as well.